Well, hello everyone, and my name is Suzanne Hart, and welcome to Mindset Mastery. And this is fitness, health, fitness, and wellness mastery. I think the conversation today is going to focus highly on wellness. Before I go any further, to all my American friends, happy Thanksgiving. I know many of you are probably sitting down to your turkey dinner right now, so enjoy, and blessings to each and every one of you. So if you are, as you join and when you join, please let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, and do put in the comment section what you do. This is even if you're listening to the replay, because you never know who's watching, who's going to pass by and see your comment. And this is our networking opportunity for people to connect from all over the globe and find out about each other. Second thing I'm going to ask you to do is, as you join us, this is going to be a conversation about wellness. It's going to be the mindset of health, right? We're going to have a conversation. Dr. Michelle and I'm going to introduce her in a hot moment. Dr. Michelle and I are going to have a conversation about health is a mindset. I guarantee you, if you're listening to the replay, this is going to be a juicy conversation, and one that I truly believe definitely needs to be had. So if you think that there's someone in your world who's struggling with their health, wanting to get in shape, doing maybe all the right things and getting the wrong results, or doing all the wrong things in attempt to get the right results, this is for the person who does the yo-yo diet. This is for the person who spends their life on the treadmill. This is for the person who restricts their food intake. This is for the person that does all those crazy things the diet industry tells you to do that we all know doesn't work. This conversation is definitely for you. So if you know one of those people, please bless a life by sharing this link, sharing it to their page, sharing it to their group, sharing it to anyone who needs this conversation. So let me introduce my guest. As I said last time she was here a few weeks ago. This is one of my favorite people. I love this woman. I love her energy. I love her sense of humor, but I love her frankness. She talks the truth. Right? So truth to power is Dr. Michelle. She is a chiropractor. She is a nutritionist. She is a personal trainer. She's a competitive bodybuilder. She's a past, I believe, volleyball player, which I think I found out that on our last live. She is a mom. She is an entrepreneur. This lady is just fantastic. So please help me welcome Dr. Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, honey?
I am wonderful. I am so excited to have you back. You know,
Excited to be back.
and it's great that it was easy peasy. We had no technical difficulties. I love it.
None.
All right, that's what happens when you do lives and you depend on technology. It's all good. So our topic today is health is a mindset. And how this emerged was you and I were having a conversation offline before going live last time. And we were talking about how in both of our worlds, our how we come to our health, fitness, and wellness has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And shifted in a really interesting way. So, just to give everyone a flavor of what it was like before the shift, Dr. Michelle, can you describe what your health and fitness was like? How did you get to it? What did it look like? Just to situate everyone that's listening.
Sure. Before my um, quote unquote midlife crisis slash epiphany slash conscious awakening, um, my fitness and wellness journey was highly ego driven, highly aesthetic driven. You mentioned earlier about winning and performance, and it was very much with that in mind. We made the joke, the two of us, about when I'd go to the gym, it was all business. I'd put my music on, and I used to say I had the pretty solid like resting bitch face. Like don't talk to me. It was very it was very serious business in there, and it's funny, like as a result of that, I never really got to know anyone at any of the gyms that I was at because I was very much like that. And I had various partners over the years that would try to be all like chatty Cathy, and I'd get pissed off. And I'm like, look, if you're going to be my workout partner, shut up. Like
We're
we gotta get rolling here.
we're working out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very much about that. It was very ego driven, performance driven. And although I would say that the focus was on being strong and on health and on wellness, I don't think that I was ever really listening to my body truly
Mm,
through any of those years. I was more trying to get something out of it and pushing it despite different messages it was giving me. So on the outside, aesthetically, from society's point of view, um, I probably sported a pretty sweet physique, but the truth is, I had like a ton of health challenges going on. My asthma was pretty bad. I had addiction issues with alcohol.
hmm.
Um, I had a lot of struggles and other health stuff. I had a lot of pain, like a lot of joint pain.
Yeah.
So, everything looked great on the outside, but things weren't so great on the inside. And it wasn't very fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'd step on stage and I'd win awards, or I'd get to the end of these goals that I thought were really important, but it wasn't ever really super fulfilling. So
Mm.
that's what it was like pre
Epiphany.
midlife, pre
Like
pre epiphany.
epiphany.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember I would go to the gym twice a day. First of all, when I was getting ready for a competition, I would wake up and I'd go run stairs. And I used to live next door to the St. Joseph's Oratory. So if you know what the St. Joseph's Oratory is like, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
I'd run every stair in that oratory. It would take me like a half hour. Then I'd come home,
Yeah.
I'd do an ab workout. Then I'd go to the gym and I do one of my body, like what my smaller, my bigger workout, depending. Then I go off to school. Then I'd come back, I'd work at the gym, then I would do my other workout, then I'd go home and I'd start this whole routine over again while restricting my intake, while just doing all the stuff. And it was business. It was just get her done. And it was all about looking good, hitting the target, winning the
Mm-hmm.
game, being the best of the best. And uh and if you asked me at that point, I said, yeah, I'm committed to health. I'm committed to being the best shape of my life. No, not
Yeah.
at all. And whenever I would arrive at a competition, I would look good, I would feel horrible, and I was scared to death. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the secret. I was scared to death of all the attention this physique gave me because it reflected back to me all the things I didn't like and didn't wasn't comfortable about with Suzanne. And like you, I think 16, 17 years ago, I had the midlife crisis. Um, and like you, I was not listening to my body. So I had discomfort. I had mental fog. I had low energy. I had all sorts of stuff. And then my body pretty well crashed. And if anybody saw healthy but not well, when my doctor told me I was healthy but I was not well, and I looked at him like deer stuck in headlights. I don't know what you're talking about. And that was the first time I really found out that there was a distinction between my health, my fitness, and my wellness, and all of them were off.
Mm-hmm.
All of them was off. So here we are. We're both midlife crisis. What began to shift for you? What was the epiphany? What was the awakening, if you will?
Um, there was two major what I'll call TSN turning points for me. One was getting pregnant with my son and the birth of my son.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that was a big one. And then the second one was my soon to be ex-wife telling me when my son was just 6 weeks old that she no longer loved me and she was leaving. So, that was a bit of a Mack truck, a beautiful and a tragic time in combination in my
Mhm.
life. Um, but also, like, once that time shifted and I took the time to heal, of which I took a long time, like I took a solid year. And thankfully, my parents, like I have amazing family that stepped up big time and friends to wrap their arms around me and help support me through that time. But I really took that year um, as a year of self discovery. I did a lot of coaching, I did a lot of therapy, both one on one and group therapy. My ex and I went to couples counseling, not to try to reconcile because there wasn't a hope of that, but to make sure that we could go forward in a positive co-parenting situation.
Mhm.
So it was really those two major things that shifted for me, um, and just changed. Like the birth of my son just really softened me. It softened the way I looked at everything, and I just realized that I didn't I didn't have to keep making everything so difficult and about the end. And I talked a lot forever about really appreciating the journey and having enormous amounts of gratitude. But Suzanne, until my son was born and I got my life rocked in a totally um, crazy way, I don't think I've ever felt the depths of true gratitude until now. And
Mm.
when you do, it's crazy humbling.
It
And
is.
so I've just yeah, so I've just slowed down. Everything's slowed down. I make the joke now. I go into the gym and I'm smiling at people. I take
They're
my
like,
music off
"Really?
and I
Who
have
are you?"
I know, and I like talk to people now. I have friends at the gym. Like there's this ease to life, not just to the way I look at wellness and how I eat, and how I move my body, but there's just a lot more listening. I mean, I still have a long way to go, but there's a lot more listening and a lot less shame driven behavior. Because
I
I
love
think a lot of what was happening before was that, there's a lot of shame. I mean, there's a lot of media messages out there and a lot of crazy, body positive women out there, like Jamila Jamil and Birds Papaya, and like, these huge influencers on Instagram that are talking about these kinds of things now. So yeah, I stopped the shaming and slowed things down, and life's been a whole lot more fun.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about stopping the shaming and the mindset for a moment, because one
Mm,
of the things for me as I have come to really understand this is that I realize that my health has more to do with what's going on between my two ears than
mhm.
what happens in the gym, right?
Yeah.
And before, I thought it was the weights. I thought it was the fact that I could do 8 sets of 10 pull-ups, and I could
Mhm.
squat more than the average guy, and so I equated, and I ate super super clean, and all this
Mhm.
stuff, and I really thought that that was where health lived. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I was sitting in my doctor's office and he rocked my world by telling me that if I didn't change how I was doing things, I was not going to survive. And I've never asked him exactly what that meant because I don't think I wanted to know. But that was for me to say, okay, something has to change. And so for me, it was really beginning to realize that health starts here. And I began to notice that it's had to start with me respecting myself enough to listen to my body. It had to start with me loving myself enough to be able to look in the mirror and like what I see without having to change it,
Mm,
fix it, patch it,
mhm.
rebuild it. right? It had to do with me also being willing to be honest with how I was showing up in the world and not try to, because I think, I don't know about you, but I think until that honesty came, I was trying to fix the exterior
Mm-hmm.
and forget about the interior. And for me, I realized that it was band-aids on the exterior until I really dealt with the interior and
Oh
helped
yeah.
man in that journey. So what was it for you?
Um, it's the same, like to your point, it was just like I think I was just looking at my body like a sculpture, you know, something that I could shape and form and change and mold. I was looking and treating my body like an object, you know,
Mm,
and that's not what it is. We're these beautifully constructed conscious beings, and there is nothing to fix or to change. There's so many beautiful ways that have opened up to me where I can move my body in different ways. The way I look at my eating is all different. Like everything used to be so um, strict,
and rigid.
like so strict, you know, like I'd weigh everything. I was so anal. My friends always used to call it the no fun diet, and it really wasn't much fun. You know, it wasn't much fun at all. And now there's, you know, I'm not saying that I sit around and eat a bunch of sugar and processed foods now, but there's this ease to the way that I eat now. And like I've let go of the reins on so many things that I thought were really important on health. But the truth was I was just so stressed out about it all the time. And I've never been at such a place of ease now, where I am. And it's, you know, another big epiphany came just from being a personal trainer since the age of 17. I've had clients from the age of 12 to 86. And I remember thinking at one point, holy crap, it doesn't matter how old women are, what shape they're in, nothing. They're all still chasing, like, to
Thing.
fix and change something. Like, you know, it like I don't want to be 86 and still be like judging my body, you know, and not like that was just outrageous to me. That was a huge, like, another turning point for me. I was like, fuck. Like, has the media and the diet industry really shamed us this much that our entire lives are spent trying to change who we are? Like, that's
And
fucked up.
yeah, it
It's
is.
so fucked up. So
Absolutely.
I was like, no, I'm done. You know, the diet industry and that whole that whole movement of shaming and talking about women's bodies like they're an object. It's old. It's like a dinosaur and it's going to die soon. It's already happening.
Yeah. And
And
I love the fact that you said that, you know, you yourself, like we talk about men objectifying women. And I
mm,
love the candor in you saying you yourself was treating your body like an object, as was
totally.
I, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that really for me was the biggest aha was realizing that my body, I was perfect exactly the way I was, right? I was
Hmm.
absolutely perfect. And for any woman that's listening, the epiphany is you're perfect. There's nothing to fix.
Mm-mm.
But this was the distinction for me, Michelle, was that there was nothing to fix, but there was everything to care for. And
Ah,
it's
I love
such
that.
a subtle distinction that I gave up fixing the things that weren't perfect and really beginning to care for and love on my body. And
Yeah.
what began to happen was that my food choices were no longer out of fear of gaining, right?
Mm,
Or fear of not looking right, my food choices were born of, if I love and care for this person in this body, there's just some things I won't put in it.
Sure.
It was just, it became that simple. and
Yeah.
and so it was really, I love this body, this person, this temple enough that I'm just going to make really good choices about what goes in it and how I am, how it is treated. And it
Yeah.
was no longer around fear, but around a
Mhm.
loving conversation with myself.
Awesome. I love that. It's basically just it's a shift in our self-worth, right? I mean,
Mm.
I don't know how it was for you, but it was a lot of my self-worth, unbeknownst to me, was wrapped up in how my body was perceived visually by other people, you know? Um, and if it wasn't that way, I just went right into the shame spiral, right? And followed after that, stupid exercise programs and hardcore dieting and weighing my food. And
Getting back to that place of perfection that's not even sustainable.
not at all, and not healthy, and not anything, and awful. Yeah. And so just now, like you said, I am grateful and I do care for my body as it is in this moment. And that's how I deal with every decision. And I can be, I go into every choice that I make food wise or movement wise informed. It doesn't mean that I still don't smash an entire pizza, from now from time to time, like that might happen.
Yeah.
But I don't spend the next 24 hours in this huge shame and guilt ridden diatribe inside my head. I enjoy it because that's what I want. And movement and, great eating are just easy because, like you said, it's not being fueled by fear, it's being fueled by love,
And
which is different.
and also by joy. I know for
Yeah.
myself, my joy is chicken wings, sweet potato fries, and wine.
Sounds
Simple,
delightful.
but it is what it is,
Sounds pretty
right?
delightful.
Yeah, yeah, love it, love it, love it. And before, if I did that, I would have to have a whole conversation about what I'm going to do to contradict,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And even now, I can sometimes catch myself and they'd be like, really?
Sure.
But the programming is so there and it's so everywhere, right?
Yeah.
That I catch it. So one of the things for me is really that it's sitting in this place of joy and knowing that, when I care for myself enough, and I make great choices enough that I revel in that moment. And I tell people I will plan, dream, create ambiance, the whole bit for my sweet potato fries, wine, and wings, right?
Mm.
And I think what it is it's that my relationship to food has shifted as well, to
Yeah.
one of joy, one of pleasure, one of I'm a total foodie,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an understanding I can do that because it's not fear based, and I also, um, I'm looking for the word. I'm also at choice,
Yeah.
right? I am able to make informed choices, but I'm also able to make choices because I'm not in this restrictive situation. So I know that if I choose sweet potato fries and wine and chicken wings today, I'm just going to go back and do what I know I need to do tomorrow. It's not so rigid and restrictive that I've
Totally.
restricted myself for so long that when I get to have it, I'm going to eat it way too much. I'm going to drink too much. That's off the table because it's
Yeah.
almost like it's like this ease and flow into, I know what to do and I know what I love. I know what to do and I know what I love, and it's all good.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. And the motion that you just made with your hands, it reminds me of a really intuitive healer friend of mine that I went to, who she gave a great metaphor for life. She said, you have to think of living more like a flower. She says, you have so many layers of armor on you, and for so long you have. And they said, there's now that you're shedding all of that armor, you're feeling very vulnerable. And she's like, that it's all fine, but she's like, think of something like a flower that is so delicate to look at, yet in a crazy storm, nothing weathers a storm like a flower, because it just kind of it just goes with it, right? There's no fighting what is. It just flows with it. It's totally fine. So they said, think of that. It doesn't mean because you're shedding all of this armor that you're not strong. You were just you were fighting in all the wrong places.
I so, so
Fighting what is.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting as you say that, because the other part that is so clear to me, and I'll describe it. I remember when I quit my job, I got divorced, I left Toronto, and I was laying actually on the floor in my new very empty apartment with like little to no furniture but a rug. And I was laying there on the floor, and I was so tired.
Mm.
And I don't think I've ever been that tired since. And it was really getting connected to the energy necessary to keep up the armor, the facade, the looking good, the keeping up with the Joneses, all that stuff that's born in the perfect size, the perfect outfit, the perfect car, the perfect this, the perfect that, just all that stuff, and really getting present to what my doctor was saying when he said, "You're not well." I was
Yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah, it's fucking exhausting.
It is, right?
Yeah.
I was exhausted, and and the crazy thing was unaware,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was exhausted and unaware. And how many people out there that they're going to the gym, they're doing the this, they're doing the do, they're doing all these things, and it's like a machine getting everything done, and they're exhausted. And exhaustion is just the opposite of what you need for your health and to lose the weight and to do all the things that we're striving for.
Totally.
Did you notice? I know for myself, as I've been on this journey, once I relaxed, and this is and it's funny, but I understand the truth behind it. Once I relaxed, and once I just started to listen to my body and respect it and honor it and
Mm-hmm.
nurture it,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was fighting for before came with ease.
Uh,
It came with flow,
yeah.
and it became so easy to maintain. And
Yep.
it's so counterintuitive that for me it's the stuff I teach now, and I know it's the stuff that you probably also teach and talk about. But it was so counterintuitive. Like, I've been the same weight forever, I've been healthier than ever, I have little to no issues,
Mm-hmm.
and all because I stopped and just accepted and just said, okay, well, maybe I should listen to my body and just do what it asked me to do, and nurture it, feed it properly, don't be extreme, don't be crazy. um But I think the piece I really need to say, and I'll ask you to speak to is, but I also have to be patient,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think the biggest learn in surrendering and allowing it to happen is there's a patience in it, because my transformation and the ease of staying in that right place was because I had to let go of the edge, the forcing it, the got to get it done right now. It's got to look this way today or tomorrow, and to just surrender to the patience of my body and
Yeah.
allow it to do what it does.
Totally. And yeah, it seems crazy when I think of, I mean, what happened with me is totally similar to what you just said. I found that the harder I pushed Um, and the more like in the details I tried to get, um, and the harder and faster I tried to make things work, and the more tight I got on stuff, just the harder everything was in every way. Like I was
Mhm.
also exhausted. Obviously, I opened up about, addiction issues. My marriage was obviously crumbling unbeknownst to me behind the scenes. And um, yeah, I wasn't good.
Mhm.
So when everything shifted and I gave up all of that and just started listening to my body, went with the flow, and moved from this place of everything being driven by shame and fear, and just really trusted the universe. I mean, we always talk about that. I mean, the law of attraction, people can call it hokey pokey. And for a long time, The Secret and stuff like that, people have claimed that it doesn't work. And I hate to break it to everyone, the law of attraction is a law. So, like gravity, you may not believe in it, but if you step off a building, you're going to fall. And the law of attraction is true in quantum physics. So it happens whether or not you believe in it or not. So, but the truth is, most of us are living from a place of scarcity. That's where I was living, from scarcity and from not enough and not good enough, never good enough. And always wanting more and pushing and never really being happy. So when I let go of that and realize that the universe is really there for us and wants us to have everything. If you look at anything else in nature, it thrives without any fucking effort whatsoever. Like an oak tree doesn't have to fucking fight tooth and nail to grow. It just fucking grows
Mhm.
really tall, you know? And everything in nature with few exception really thrives when left on its own and not meddled with by humans. But um, so I really started to live by that. And now, like at 40, I literally am in the best shape of my life, really,
Mhm.
um, with so much more ease. And it's
And,
great.
and and I love it because that's the same thing for me. I'm probably in the best shape ever, and I really want to quantify this for people to understand it. You know, and it's so multi-layered because it's not necessarily how I look, although I looked really quite good, for my age. But it's not that just the way I look; it's the way I feel. It's the health, the energy, and so when I say I'm in the best shape of my life, it's not just the aesthetics of it,
Totally.
right? Because I remember people commenting on how amazing I look, and I did not feel anything close to amazing.
Mm,
And so, one of the things I want to talk about is this concept of beauty. And
mm,
I wrote an article a while ago around, I think I called it "You Are Beautiful." And I think that the one thing that I've come to understand as I've gotten wiser, if you will, is that beauty is not this, right? And that beauty actually never fades. I'd love to put this on blast because there's so many women fighting to maintain their beauty. And I make the distinction between someone who's pretty and someone who's beautiful, right?
mm,
And really kind of understanding that, you know, prettiness is like I have a painting in my house that's gorgeous. It sits over my wine cabinet. It is amazing. Half the time I don't notice it,
mm,
right? And the reason I say that half the time I don't notice it because it doesn't engage me. It can't engage me. It's a picture. And I think that's the distinction between prettiness and beautiful is something can be pretty, but it's surface. But
mm,
pretty without substance and without the richness of life and the growth and the wisdom and the energy and the personality and the beauty that lives inside us, it it, it it'll fade in a way that it has to. But when you are beautiful, it's almost like it brings a texture and a richness, that comes from living life and enjoying life and growing and being willing to just surrender to who you're becoming, that creates a layer of something undescribable, but people can feel it when they're around you. And I call it beauty. And
Mm,
this becomes less relevant. Do you know what I mean?
totally. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. It's uh, it's our essence, right? It's what makes us human. It's a beautiful thing, and it's there, like just under the surface. And for me, for so long, I don't want to speak to anyone else, but for so long, I wasn't really living like authentically, and from that place, everything was surface, and based on outcome and performance, and there wasn't a lot of I mean, there were definitely moments for sure. I mean, there always are for us, and I think we feel them and we touch on those moments,
And
and
we want to get
you
back.
know, yeah, you feel them, and you're like, shit, that was great, But then we get thrusted back into like the grind in our lives, and the messaging and the stereotyping and the shaming, and we go right back into that cycle. But we have these moments of it, and the coolest thing is, I mean, for me, it took the birth of my son and my wife leaving me for me to wake up. And sometimes I think suffering does lead to these awakened moments. Like for you, you said you were practically on death's door. And I think it's great. Like I think we have to embrace those really hard times, because it's through that suffering and these really shit moments that hit our lives that we can really truly understand gratitude and really live after that.
And it creates another texture and another layer to you. It's a richness, right? As you
Mhm.
come out of that. I want to talk to you a little bit about energy, because I
Mm.
know for myself, my friends who know me, post crisis, uh, they joke and they describe that when I that I glide, right, and I just have this wave, and I just kind of sashay and glide from place to place, and I find it funny. Um, but I think part of it is that when when you live in a place of self-acceptance, right,
Mm.
and a place of self-respect, self-love, and a willingness to be seen,
Mhm.
right, and a willingness to be seen in all your flaws and all your, all that stuff, um,
Yeah.
and you live in that place of vulnerability, there is an energy that comes with acceptance of self.
Oh
There is
yeah.
an energy that comes with the love of self. There's an ease, a grace, a flow that comes from that place.
Yeah.
And I think what it is people feel it on you. And I often get asked, what is it? And now I just say, I think I just fell madly in love with me. This is really what it is.
I
Right?
just fell in love with myself.
It took
Yeah.
me like 40 some years, but I just fell madly in love with me. And not from
Yeah.
a place of arrogance, but from a place of really just understanding the beauty that is me and the beauty that is any other person on the planet, if they're willing to allow themselves to be seen,
Yeah. And
right?
that's the coolest part about what you just said is you hit this moment of self-acceptance and self-love, and it just opens your heart up to everyone else. Like for me, the biggest issue before with the way I was living was I had such a hard time um, making true connections with people, because I was always so worried about me, and there's a lot of judgment of other people when you're in that place. You don't mean to, but it's happening all the time. And what I didn't realize is that any judgment of others is only a projection of something I feel shitty about myself. That's all it is. It's never the other person, ever.
Yeah.
So
You know,
when my heart opened up after everything, I started feeling like I started having so much empathy that I felt like I had to force before. You just, your heart opens up for other people, and when you love yourself, you have this overwhelming um, love for other people and for their stories and their journeys. And then connection was authentic after that, because part of my discovery through my addiction with binge drinking and with alcohol before was, it was, the longing was valid. I was longing to connect. I just was using the wrong tools. I was using alcohol to connect. You'd have a couple drinks, takes the edge off. All of a sudden you can chat with people. It's okay. But I didn't realize that's why I was using it. And then when everything happened and my heart opened up, you no longer need that to connect, because you're connecting authentically, which was
mhm.
effortless.
And
Shockingly.
it is, isn't it? And I think you've come kind of full circle, because I think the thing that we're seeking when we hit the gyms and we do all the things, and it's not to say that that's not necessary, but I think the motivation is different, right? Is I think we're seeking acceptance and connection, and not realizing that the first person who's required to accept and connect with us is us, right?
Mm,
The first person to love and accept you is you. The first person to respect and honor you is you. The first person to tell you how beautiful you are is you. The first person to tell you, that you're okay and all those things is you. And
totally.
so it's here first, and then it flows out, and you take that person to the gym, and then the workouts will be different. You take that person to the spa, you take that person to the table, and you eat for
100%.
nourishment. If you take the self-loathing fixing person, um it's impossible to nourish that person. It's impossible to train that person to any
No.
it's impossible to get anywhere with that person,
It's
because
an unclimbable mountain.
It's a it's a bottomless pit, an unclimbable,
Yeah.
an unswimmable ocean. It is
Yes.
it's just first of all, it's insatiable,
Yeah.
because when you're seeking perfection, there's no answer,
Hmm.
right?
And even just not even perfection, just even um, changing anything from a point of fear or scarcity or shame. It's just not a positive vibration to come from. And you mentioned earlier patience being really important, and that's another one of those laws that's out there, the law of gestation, right? So I made the joke about the oak tree growing without any effort, but that doesn't happen in a day. But everything is provided for that seed to do what it needs to do. And I I don't know how to make this clear to everyone, and the people who listen to this afterwards, but everything you need to sprout and grow is available always. It's there. Um, you just have to trust. And if there are certain health challenges that are going on, or things in your life that need to be shifted, you don't need to have this hurry up and get it done now. There's this law of gestation, this waiting period, this patience. But if you're clear with love and patience, anything that needs to be shown to you will be shown to you. If that's a specific doctor that you need to be in touch with, or some sort of herbal medicine, or some form of movement that you haven't discovered yet that's going to be your thing, like whatever it is, it's going to show up. You
Mhm,
don't have to like fight to find everything.
mhm. It's funny, because I spoke in St. Louis, and my topic was that faith is actually a mindset, right?
Hmm.
And that, when we are sitting in patience, when we're sitting in struggle, when we're sitting in fear, is we are not in the mindset of faith.
Yeah.
And faith requires us to surrender to the unknown and wait, really,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes we're waiting because there's something we need to learn, something we might be required to become. There's something, but
Right.
it's just to surrender and wait. And even in our becoming around our health, it's that surrender and wait, because it needs gestation, it needs healing, it needs hydration, it needs to move, shift, do whatever it needs to do before it comes out the way whatever we are anticipating,
Yeah.
right? And I think oftentimes we don't have faith in the fact that we are enough, faith in the fact that we are perfect, faith in the fact that we're just right, just
Yep.
right. And I think for me, when I really began to realize it, again, it just became easier to care for me, because I didn't have to fix anything, I just had to take care of.
Yep.
And my health, my fitness, my wellness now is really around, how do I take care of Suzanne? How do I love her, respect her, and take care of her?
It's
And
great, right?
the rest happens. The rest just happens, right?
It's great. And it's way more fun, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like
It,
way like so fun. Like so enjoyable. Fuck.
it's almost kind of mind-boggling, right? It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
what was I thinking back
I
when?
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
journey. It's a journey. Well, Dr.
A good
Michelle,
one though.
yeah, it is, and I trust that when I repost this, I'm gonna say, like, do not skip this video, watch it, listen to it, re-listen to it. Like, this is a keeper, right? I think it's because it's a conversation that more of us, women and men, need to be having. Uh,
100%.
I think it is. We are in a time where we're required to really shift how we view our health, how we view our fitness, how we view our wellness, shifting how we do business,
Yep.
shifting how we come to things, and really understanding, as you said, that the world is abundant. Everything's there for us. But we are required to become the people who can actually receive it. And that's the
That's right.
work,
Hmm.
right? That is the work. And it's not really work, it's the awareness, I should say.
Totally. And
Ah,
that's a one person job.
no one can do
Yeah.
it for us. And I think the reason that health is such a big market and it's so challenging, and if you really truly get it, is no one can do it for you. It's the one thing that we must do ourselves,
100%.
right? And so all the tricks and tools that are out there, it comes down to the to you and your own listening and your own honesty. And
Yep.
then you use the tools from a different place.
I mean, it might sound scary, but there's freedom in it too, right? There's
Oh, totally.
freedom in knowing that everything's there, that you just have to go home, um, and just have this ease and have this faith and love and that's it, and then everything just kind of flows from there.
Yeah,
Scary, but also ease.
amazing. Taria says you ladies are sharing a different perspective. I'm like, yeah, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's an awesome woman I follow on Instagram, Glennon Doyle. She's amazing. She's married to Abby Wambach, who used to play on the U.S. soccer team. If you don't follow her, I highly
Oh,
recommend it.
I do. Yeah, yeah.
And she has this amazing quote she wrote a few months ago that you know, raise your daughters and teach them that the diet industry is a massive fucking sham that will steal your money, steal your self worth, and just shame you into thinking you're not good just as you are. Like raise
Mhm.
women who know this is like a complete bunch of crap. And I mean, I'm probably butchering her poor quote, but go look it up and see. Like it's just awesome. And other women just like her. There's so many of them, like Jamila Jamil, the Birds Papaya, Celeste Barber. Like There's just like amazing women on Instagram who are, there's this shift happening. You know, it started with Me Too, and now there's this shift to this body positivity and to stop looking at women's bodies like they're objects. And, you know, that goes for everyone. It's not just men who are guilty of this. Us as women look at ourselves and treat ourselves that way, as well as other women. It has to be all of us. This is a united thing.
Hmm.
We're not just objects, and shifting from that shame and really opening up our hearts and being vulnerable and accepting and looking at things differently. It's a big deal, and it's happening.
Dr. Michelle says that's the closing quote. It's a big deal and it's happening.
Mm,
I love it. Thank you so much. This was
thank you.
this is such a good conversation. I could keep going. We are close to the top of the hour, believe it or not.
Oh,
So
wow. There we
I
go.
know, I know, and it, you know, it was kind of like we were having a fireside chat. You know, you and I just jumped on and had a conversation, and hopefully other people will get to comment and gleam and learn from this. But thank you so
Awesome.
very much. And
Thanks
this
for
is
having me.
oh, my pleasure. This is our Thanksgiving conversation, people. We're giving thanks for our bodies. We're giving thanks for who we are and who you are. So for those of you in
And
the
for turkey.
and for turkey, yeah, enjoy. Love on that. So
Yeah.
everyone, happy Thanksgiving, Michelle. Thank you so much, and we'll be chatting again. We're just getting started
Perfect.
on this conversation. All right,
All
everyone.
right.
My name is Suzanne Hart. This is our Mindset Mastery hour, and I was talking with Dr. Michelle Chris. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.